They thought your silence would break first, and the not breaking is destroying their entire understanding of you. Not dramatic understanding, not surface-level assumptions, deep understanding, foundational understanding. Understanding built over time through watching you, through experiencing you, through knowing you as person who speaks, who communicates, who reaches out, who pursues, who doesn't do silence, who can't do silence, who's too invested to stay quiet, who cares too much to maintain distance, who needs connection too desperately to enforce absence. The understanding is built on evidence, built on history, built on pattern of you always being the one who breaks silence, who reaches out first, who closes distance, who does the work of maintaining connection when they create disconnection. And built understanding is foundation of their comfort, is why they could stay defended while having you, could withdraw while keeping you, could create distance while maintaining relationship. Because understanding was, you'll always come back, you'll always pursue, you'll always break the silence. And always, you breaking is what made their pattern sustainable, made their defended state functional, made relationship work for them while they stayed protected. But silence is continuing, is maintained, is absolute, is complete in ways silence has never been complete before. Days becoming weeks, weeks becoming months, months becoming silence so profound it's undeniable that something fundamental has changed, has shifted, has transformed in you. And transformed you is person who can maintain silence, who doesn't break, who doesn't reach out, who doesn't pursue, who doesn't close distance, who just stays quiet, stays gone, stays absent, and stated sense is destroying their understanding, is proving their assumptions wrong, is revealing they didn't know you as well as they thought, didn't understand you as deeply as they believed, didn't see that underneath person who always came back was person who could stay gone. Person with self-respect strong enough to maintain silence indefinitely. Person with boundary firm enough to enforce no contact permanently. Person with strength vast enough to choose themselves over connection. And chosen self over connection is you they never met. You they didn't know existed. You whose silence is powerful beyond anything they imagined silence could be. The can't believe is visible in how they're responding, in how they're testing, in how they're trying everything to break the silence without directly breaking it themselves, in how they're creating situations that should make you reach out, should make you respond, should make silence impossible to maintain. But silence is maintained, is holding, is proving itself more powerful than their tests, more powerful than their defended need for you to be the one who pursues. And more powerful silence is teaching them something they never learned, teaching them that you're not who they thought you were, that your silence isn't strategy, isn't temporary withdrawal, is genuine ending, is real boundary, is permanent distance enforced through silence so complete it's becoming undeniable that silence isn't breaking. You aren't coming back. Connection isn't restoring, and not restoring is them facing that silence as consequence, is consequence of their patterns, is consequence of their defended state, is consequence of them taking for granted that you'd always break silence, and always assumed is revealed as never again. And never again is power, is your silence being power they never anticipated, never prepared for, never imagined you possessed. And possessed power through silence is them learning too late that silence is most powerful response, most devastating consequence, most complete boundary, most permanent ending, and permanent ending through silence is them being unable to believe, unable to accept, unable to comprehend that your silence is this powerful, this maintained, this final, this complete, this devastating, this permanent, this victorious, this free, this you choosing you, and chosen you through silence is power beyond their understanding, beyond their experience, beyond their defended capacity to comprehend. And incomprehensible power is what your silence is what they're facing, is what they can't believe, can't accept, can't understand. But is reality, is truth, is your silence being more powerful than they ever imagined silence could be. Why your silence is more devastating than anything you could have said. Words give them something to respond to, something to argue with, something to defend against, something to manipulate, something to reframe, something to minimize. Words are terrain they know, are territory they're skilled in, are battleground where their defended state has advantage. Because words can be debated, can be questioned, can be made to mean something different, can be turned around, can be used against you, can be evidence of you being too emotional, too reactive, too much. And too much you is story they tell through your words, story that protects them, Story that makes your words into your problem, not their patterns being problem. But silence gives them nothing. Nothing to argue with. Nothing to defend against. Nothing to manipulate. Nothing to reframe. Nothing to minimize. Just nothing. And nothing is terrain they don't know, is territory where defended state has no advantage, is absence of battleground entirely. And no battleground is them being powerless. Being unable to deploy usual tactics, being unable to make your silence into your dysfunction. Because silence is just silence, is boundary in its purest form, is consequence without explanation, is ending without debate, is you being done without giving them anything to use against your doneness. And nothing to use is them being defenseless, being unable to protect themselves through making you wrong, unable to avoid accountability through reframing your words, unable to maintain defended state through manipulating what you said. Just facing silence, facing absence, facing nothing is more devastating than facing words, because nothing is irrefutable, is undebatable, is complete, is final, is you being done in a way that can't be argued with, can't be defended against, can't be manipulated around, just is, and isness of silence is power words could never have. Silence also forces them to face themselves without distraction of managing you. When you were speaking, when you were explaining, when you were pursuing, they could focus on you. On managing your emotions, on responding to your words, on defending against your accusations, on reframing your concerns. The focus on you was distraction from themselves, was avoiding their internal experience, was defending against their own feelings by making your feelings the problem. But silence removes the distraction, removes you as focus, removes external thing to manage, leaves them alone with themselves, alone with their feelings about your absence, alone with their patterns that destroyed connection, alone with consequences of defended state, and alone with consequences is them facing themselves, is mirror being internal, not external, is them unable to avoid their own feelings by managing yours, unable to avoid their own responsibility by focusing on your reactions, unable to avoid their own patterns by defending against your accusations, just alone, just facing self, just sitting with what they created through being defended, and sitting with what they created is devastating, is more painful than managing your words ever was, is more confronting than defending against your emotions ever was, is them facing that silence as consequence of their choices, their patterns, their defended state, and their responsibility, is unavoidable through silence, is undeniable through absence, is complete through nothing. And complete responsibility through silence is more devastating than anything you could have said, because said things they could defend against, silence they can only sit with, and sitting with silence is sitting with themselves, with their responsibility, with their patterns, with their consequences. And sitting with consequences is devastating in ways words never devastated them. Your silence is also devastating because it's teaching them about power they gave you by taking you for granted. Power that was always yours, but you weren't using, weren't accessing, weren't deploying. Power of your absence being more impactful than your presence. Power of your silence being more powerful than your words. Power of your distance being more teaching than your proximity. Power of your gone being more devastating than your stayed. The power in absence is power they didn't know you had. Didn't anticipate you'd use, didn't prepare for you accessing, because their assumption was your power is in your presence, in your pursuit, in your accommodation, in your sacrifice, in your always coming back. But real power is opposite, is in your absence, in your silence, in your boundary, in your choice, in your never coming back. And never coming back is power they gave you through taking for granted that you'd always be there, through assuming your presence was guaranteed, through believing your pursuit was permanent, through thinking your accommodation was endless. That taken for granted, you had power you weren't using, power to leave, power to stay gone, power to enforce silence, power to maintain boundary, power to choose yourself, and chosen self is power accessed. Is power deployed? Is power devastating them? Is power teaching them that taking you for granted was mistake, was miscalculation, was them underestimating who you are, what you're capable of? How strong you actually are beneath the accommodation, how boundaried you actually are beneath the understanding, how powerful you actually are beneath the pursuit. And powerful you access through silence is more devastating than anything. Because anything they were prepared for, your power they weren't prepared for, Your silence, they didn't anticipate being this powerful. Your absence, they didn't expect being this devastating. Your boundary, they didn't imagine being this maintained. Your choice, they didn't believe you'd make this permanently. And permanent power through silence is them facing you're stronger than they thought, more capable than they assumed, more boundaried than they believed, more done than they imagined, more gone than they can accept, more silent than they can comprehend. And incomprehensible silence is more devastating than any words, any explanations, any accusations, any emotions. Just silence, just absence, just power, just you. Powerful you, silent you, gone you. Chosen yourself you, and chosen self you is more devastating than anything they prepared for, anything they expected, anything they imagined. Just devastating, complete, final, permanent, powerful, silent, gone. The specific ways they're trying to break your silence without breaking it themselves. They're using mutual friends as messengers, asking friends how you are, what you're doing, if you've mentioned them, if you seem okay, if you're seeing anyone. The questions through others is them trying to get information without direct contact, trying to maintain some thread of connection without violating your silence by reaching out, trying to stay relevant in your life through proxy, through people who have access to both of you, through indirect contact that maintains some form of presence without direct presence. The proxy contact is them testing if friends will report back, testing if information about you is accessible, testing if they can maintain some awareness of you without breaking silence themselves. But proxy contact isn't contact. Information through others isn't connection. Knowing about you isn't having you, and not having you is reality, is truth, is consequence that proxy contact can't undo, can't reverse, can't mitigate, just reality that you're gone, that silence is maintained, that boundary is enforced, that no amount of asking friends changes that you chose silence, chose distance, chose yourself. And chosen self through maintained silence is unbreakable through proxy, unmovable through friends, unpenetrable through indirect contact, just maintained, just powerful, just complete. They're also engineering situations where you might have to contact them, leaving something at your place, having something of yours, creating logistical need for communication, creating practical reason for you to reach out. The engineered necessity is them trying to force your hand, trying to make silence impossible to maintain, trying to create legitimate reason for you to break silence without them having to break it. The manufactured need is manipulation, is them trying to use practical concerns to undermine emotional boundary, trying to make logistics more important than protection, trying to make stuff exchange override self-respect. But stuff is just stuff. Logistics are just logistics. Things left are just things. And things don't matter more than boundary. Things don't override silence. Things don't break self-respect. Things are just excuse they're creating. Excuse that's failing because your silence isn't about stuff, isn't about logistics, is about boundary, is about self-respect, is about choosing yourself. And chosen self doesn't break for things, doesn't reach out for logistics, doesn't contact for stuff. Just maintains silence. Maintains boundary, maintains self-respect that's stronger than their manufactured reasons for breaking silence, and stronger than manufactured is silence maintained, is boundary enforced, is you not taking bait, not breaking for their manipulation, not contacting for their engineered necessity, just staying silent, staying gone, staying powerful through maintained absence that their tactics can't break. They're monitoring everything visible about you, social media, mutual locations, shared spaces, anywhere they might catch glimpse of your life without having access to you directly. The monitoring is desperate. Is them trying to maintain some connection through observation, trying to stay part of your life through watching from distance, trying to feel less cut off through seeing what you're doing, even though seeing isn't having. Observing isn't connecting. Monitoring isn't relationship, just desperate attempt to maintain some thread when thread is cut, when connection is severed, when you're gone completely except for what's publicly visible. The public visibility is not real access, is them seeing curated version, seeing what you show everyone, not what you shared with them, seeing surface not depth, seeing performance not intimacy, and seeing without having is them being haunted, being unable to look away, being compulsively checking for updates, for signs, for anything that tells them about you, about your state, about whether you're okay, whether you're better without them, whether you're moving on, whether someone else is in picture. The desperate monitoring is them being unable to let go, unable to accept silence, unable to stop trying to have some form of you even when you is unavailable, is gone, is silent, is maintaining boundary they can't cross, can't penetrate, can't break through monitoring, through watching, through desperate observation of life you're living without them. And life without them is thriving perhaps, is you being better, is you being free, is you being powerful through silence they can't believe you're maintaining, can't accept you're enforcing. Can't comprehend is this complete, this final, this permanent, this powerful, this silent. What your silence is teaching them about themselves that words never taught. Silence is teaching them they were depending on you in ways they never acknowledged, depending on your accommodation to make their pattern sustainable, depending on your sacrifice to keep relationship functioning, depending on your always coming back to make their withdrawal risk-free. The dependence was invisible while you were providing, was hidden beneath their performance of independence, was denied through their defended state claiming not needing. But your silence is revealing dependence, is exposing need they claimed didn't exist, is showing them they weren't independent, they were defended while dependent on your accommodation. And dependent revealed through absence is them learning they needed you, needed your work, needed your effort, needed your always being there. And always being there is gone, is over, is ended through your silence. And ended dependence is them being alone with themselves, being unsupported, being without the foundation your accommodation provided. And without foundation as them facing they were standing on you, building on you, depending on you, while telling themselves they were independent, while performing not needing, while defending against acknowledging need. But need revealed through your absence is undeniable, is truth silence is teaching, is them learning they depended on what they took for granted, on who they underestimated, on you whose silence is teaching them what your presence was providing, what your pursuit was maintaining, what your accommodation was sustaining, and sustained by you is revealed through unsustained without you, through them struggling alone, through defended state being isolating instead of protecting, through independence being loneliness instead of strength, and lonely instead of strong is silence teaching what words never taught, teaching that they needed you, depended on you, were sustained by you, and you is gone, is silent is teaching through absence what presence couldn't teach, that you were foundation, you were necessary, you are providing something essential, and essential provided by you is gone, is over, is ended, is silence teaching them what they lost, what they took for granted, what they depended on while claiming independence. And claimed independence, revealed as dependence, is lesson, is teaching, is your silence being more powerful teacher than your words ever were. Your silence is also teaching them that their patterns have consequences they can avoid when you accommodate. Consequences become visible when accommodation ends, when you stop compensating for their withdrawal, stop pursuing through their distance, stop maintaining connection they're destroying, stop doing work they're not doing. The stopped accommodation is natural consequences emerging. Is their withdrawal creating actual aloneness instead of managed distance? Is their patterns creating actual loss instead of temporary upset? Is their defended state creating actual isolation instead of sustainable dynamic? The actual consequences are teaching, are showing them what patterns create when no one compensates, when no one accommodates, when no one sacrifices themselves to prevent natural outcome of defended behavior. And natural outcome is loneliness, is loss, is isolation, is them being alone because patterns create alone. Create distance that becomes permanent. Create withdrawal that doesn't return to connection. Create defended state that destroys relationship. And destroyed relationship is consequence, is what patterns cost when consequences aren't buffered, aren't prevented, aren't accommodated away by partner who sacrifices themselves. And sacrifice ended is consequences visible. Is them learning their patterns cost people? Cost connection, cost relationship, cost them you. And cost them you is expensive consequence, is devastating loss, is permanent removal of person who was buffering consequences, who was preventing natural outcome, who was making patterns sustainable through her accommodation. But accommodation ended is sustainability ended, is patterns creating what they naturally create. Create loss, create loneliness, create permanent distance, create you being gone, and gone you as consequence, is teaching as lesson your silence is providing. Lesson about what patterns cost. What defended state creates. What their behavior naturally leads to when someone isn't sacrificing themselves to prevent natural consequence. And natural consequence through your silence is teaching what words never taught. Teaching that patterns are unsustainable, that defended state is isolating, that withdrawal creates permanent distance, that taking for granted creates permanent loss. And permanent loss is them learning through experiencing, through sitting with consequence, through being alone with what their patterns created your silence, created your absence, created your goneness, created consequence they're living with. Consequence that's teaching them what words never taught. What explanations never conveyed, what pursuing never demonstrated, just consequence, just natural outcome, just what patterns create. And created consequence through silence is more powerful teacher than anything you said, than anything you explained, than anything you tried to make them understand through words. Understanding comes through experience, through consequence, through silence that enforces natural outcome of their patterns. And enforced consequence is understanding, is learning, is them getting it finally. Getting that patterns cost people, that defended state creates loneliness, that their behavior has consequences, and consequences include losing you, include your silence, include your permanent absence, include you being gone in ways that teach more than your presence ever taught, than your words ever conveyed, than your pursuit ever demonstrated. Just silence, just absence, just teaching, just learning that comes too late. That happens after you're gone, that occurs through experiencing loss, through sitting with absence, through facing that silence is consequence, that gone is outcome, that you is lost through patterns they're facing alone now, alone with silence, alone with absence, alone with consequence, alone with teaching that silence provides, that absence conveys, that gone you is demonstrating that patterns cost, that defended state destroys, that taking for granted loses, and lost is permanent, is final, is complete. Is your silence teaching what words never taught, teaching through being gone, through staying silent, through maintaining boundary, through enforcing consequence, through being powerful beyond their understanding, beyond their anticipation, beyond their defended capacity to comprehend. And incomprehensible power is what your silence is. What they're learning from, what they can't believe is this powerful, this teaching, this devastating, this permanent, this complete, this final, this silent. Why they'll never forget your silence, even if they move on. Your silence becomes permanent reference point, becomes standard against which all future silences are measured, becomes evidence that silence can be maintained, that people can choose themselves, that boundaries can be enforced, that consequences can be permanent. The permanent reference is them carrying your silence forever, carrying memory of person who stayed silent, who didn't break, who didn't come back, who enforced boundary through absence so complete it changed their understanding of what's possible, of what people are capable of how powerful silence can be. And powerful silence remembered is them never forgetting, never unhearing the silence, never not feeling the absence, never not knowing that silence can be this powerful, that people can be this strong, that boundaries can be this maintained, that consequences can be this permanent. And permanent memory is your silence living in them, living as reminder, living as standard, living as evidence that some people don't come back. Some silences don't break, some boundaries don't bend, some consequences don't reverse. And irreversible consequence through your silence is lesson that lasts, that persists, that remains with them regardless of whether they move on, regardless of whether they find someone else, regardless of whether they transform or stay stuck. Just remains, just stays, just lives in them as memory of silence that was more powerful than they imagined silence could be. Your silence also becomes their measuring stick for loss, becomes comparison point for all future losses, becomes the loss that all other losses are compared to. Because losing you through your silence is losing in specific way, is losing through consequence, through boundary, through your choice, through your power, through your silence that enforced ending so completely there was no ambiguity, no maybe, no possibly temporary, just final, just complete, just permanent. And permanent loss through silence is loss that's clean, is loss that's clear, is loss that's boundaried in ways other losses aren't boundaried. Other losses have messiness, have back and forth, have maybe will reconnect. But your loss through silence has none of that, has just silence, just boundary, just finality. And final loss is measuring stick, is then comparing all future losses to loss of you. Is them measuring all future pain against pain of your silence? Is them assessing all future endings against ending through your silence? And compared to your silence is all future losses being measured. Being assessed, being compared, and comparison is your silence being permanent standard, being unforgettable reference, being living memory of loss that was complete, that was final, that was enforced through silence so powerful they couldn't believe it, couldn't accept it, couldn't comprehend it, but had to live with it, had to face it, had to carry it. And carrying silence is permanent, mark, is scar, is memory, is evidence, evidence of your power, evidence of your choice. Evidence that you chose yourself, evidence that silence was consequence, evidence that consequence was permanent, evidence that permanent was real, evidence that real was your silence being more powerful than they ever imagined, than they ever anticipated, than they ever prepared for. And unprepared for power is why they can't forget, why they carry your silence, why your absence lives in them, why your boundary becomes their standard, why your choice becomes their reference, why your silence becomes measuring stick for all future losses, for all future endings, for all future consequences. And consequence measured against yours is your silence being permanent, being unforgettable, being powerful, being complete, being final, being you choosing you, and chosen you is what they remember, what they carry, what they measure against, what they never forget, never unhear, never unfeel, never not know the power of. Just remember, just carry, just measure, just live with. Live with your silence, live with your boundary. Live with your choice, live with your power, live with consequence, live with teaching, live with learning, live with memory of silence that was more powerful than anything they imagined, than anything they prepared for, than anything they can forget, just powerful, just memorable, just permanent, just yours, your silence, your power, your choice, your boundary, your self-respected self. And respected self through silence is what they carry, what they remember, what they measure against, what they never forget. Never unhear, never not feel, never not know. Just know, just remember, just carry, carry forever, carry as reminder, carry as evidence, evidence that your silence was this powerful, this maintained, this boundaried, this final, this complete, this permanent. This you, powerful you, silent, boundaried you, chosen yourself you, and chosen yourself you is what they can't believe, can't accept, can't comprehend, but must live with, must carry, must remember, must measure against, must never forget, because your silence is unforgettable, is permanent, is powerful, is complete, is final, is yours, is you choosing you protecting you honoring you respecting you being powerful through silence, through absence, through boundary, through choice, through maintained distance that taught more than presence, through enforced consequence that changed more than words, through silence that was more powerful than they can believe, than they can accept, than they can comprehend, but is powerful, is yours, is silence, your silence, powerful silence, permanent silence, unforgettable silence, silence that's teaching, silence that's consequence, silence that's boundary, silence that's choice, silence that's power, silence that's you. You being you choosing you protecting you honoring you respecting you being powerful, being boundaried, being silent, being gone, being free, being complete, being final, being permanent, being unforgettable, being more powerful than they can believe, than they imagined, than they prepared for, just being powerful, being silent, being you, and you is what they can't believe was this powerful, this silent, this permanent, this complete, this final, this free, this gone, this boundaried, this chosen self, and chosen self through silence is power, is your power, is silence being powerful, being permanent, being unforgettable, being yours, being you choosing you through silence, you protecting you through boundary, you respecting you through distance, you being powerful through maintained silence that's more powerful than they can believe, than anything they imagined, than everything they prepared for, just powerful, just permanent, just complete, just final, just yours, just you, powerful you, silent you. Boundaried you, gone you, free you, chosen yourself you. And you is powerful, is silent, is permanent, is complete, is final, is unforgettable, is more powerful than they can believe, permanent beyond comprehension, complete beyond their understanding, final beyond their acceptance, yours beyond their reach, you beyond their patterns, you choosing you beyond their defended state, you being powerful beyond their ego, you maintaining silence beyond their manipulation, you enforcing boundary beyond their tactics, you protecting yourself beyond their tests, you honoring yourself beyond their need, you respecting yourself beyond their patterns, you being you beyond everything they thought they knew about you. And being you fully is power, is silence, is boundary, is choice, is you choosing you. Finally, completely, permanently, powerfully, silently, boundariedly, gonely, freely, youly, and you is powerful, is silent, is permanent, is complete, is final, is free, is gone, is boundaried, is chosen self, is more powerful than they can believe. Your silence, unbelievably powerful, incomprehensibly maintained, devastatingly complete, permanently enforced, finally yours, completely you, powerfully silent, silently powerful, you. The permanent shift in power dynamics that your silence created. Your silence reversed everything, reversed who had power, reversed who was in control, reversed who was doing the pursuing, reversed who needed whom more, reversed entire dynamic that had been established over time, over relationship, over pattern of you always being the one who broke first, who reached out first, who pursued first, who sacrificed first. The always you first was power structure, was them having power through your predictable pursuit, having control through your consistent accommodation, having security through your reliable sacrifice. The power through your patterns was comfortable for them, was sustainable, was how relationship worked for them, worked while costing you. But your silence ended the working, ended their power, ended their control, ended their security, ended entire structure that depended on you being predictable, being accommodating, being sacrificing, being the one who always broke first, and always broke first is over, is reversed, is you being the one who doesn't break, who doesn't reach out, who doesn't pursue, who doesn't accommodate, who doesn't sacrifice and doesn't anymore is power shift, is complete reversal, is you having power now, having control now, having them needing you now, having them pursuing now, having them uncomfortable now, having them powerless now. And powerless them is powerful you, is silence creating power, is absence creating control, is boundary creating security. Your security, your power, your control, not theirs, not anymore, just yours. And yours through silence is permanent shift, is power that doesn't return to them, control that doesn't revert to previous pattern, dynamic that doesn't restore to how it was, just stays shifted, stays reversed, stays you having power. And you having power through silence is them being powerless through their patterns, through their defended state, through their assumption you'd always come back, assumption revealed as wrong, as miscalculation, as them not understanding that silence is power. That absence is control, that boundary is strength, and strength through silence is you being powerful, being in control, being secure through insecurity you're creating in them, and created insecurity in them is reversed power, is you having what they had, having power through their discomfort, having control through their uncertainty, having security through their need. And their need is power you're wielding, power you're maintaining, power you're enforcing through silence that won't break, through absence that won't end, through boundary that won't bend. An unbending boundary is unbending power, is you being powerful through maintained silence that reversed everything, that changed everything, that shifted everything is permanent, is complete. Is your silence being more powerful than their ego, more controlling than their patterns, more secure than their defended state, and more than everything they had is you winning, is silence winning, is boundary winning, is choice winning. Is you choosing you winning, and one is what you are? What silence made you? What boundary enforced? What choice created? One through silence, one through boundary, one through choosing yourself, and chosen self is one self, is powerful self, is silent self. Is you being more powerful than they can believe. Through silence, they can't break through absence. They can't end through boundary, they can't penetrate. And impenetrable boundary is permanent power, is complete control, is final shift, is you having everything, is them having nothing. Just reversed, just shifted, just permanent, just yours, your power, your control, your security, your silence, your choice. Your one, and one is you. How your silence protects you from ever returning to old dynamic. Silence is barrier, is protection between you and them, between present you and past dynamic, between who you are now and who you were then. The silence as barrier is preventing return, is making going back impossible, even if you wanted to, even if you weakened, even if you doubted. Because silence has been maintained so long, has been enforced so completely, has been held so firmly, that breaking it now would be betraying yourself, would be violating boundary you've maintained, would be abandoning self-respect you've built, would be reversing power you've claimed, would be undoing everything silence has created your freedom, created your strength, created your power, created your boundary, created your self-respect, created new you who doesn't break, you who doesn't accommodate, you who doesn't sacrifice, you who doesn't return to old patterns, and doesn't return is silence. Protecting is absence preventing, is boundary enforcing. Enforcing that you can't go back, can't return to who you were, can't resume old dynamic, can't sacrifice yourself again, can't accommodate patterns again, can't be powerless again. Just can't. And can't is protection, is silence protecting you from yourself. From moment of weakness, from doubt about choice, from wondering if you should reach out, should break silence, should give another chance, and should break is temptation silence prevents. Is weakness boundary protects against. Is doubt self-respect defeats. Defeats through maintained silence that's too powerful to break, too complete to undo, too permanent to reverse. And irreversible silence is protection from old you, from accommodating you, from sacrificing you, from powerless you, from you who would return, who would break, who would accommodate, who would sacrifice. But that you is gone, is over, is protected against through silence, through absence, through boundary, through maintained distance that makes return impossible, makes going back unthinkable, makes old dynamic inaccessible. An inaccessible old dynamic is you being protected, being safe, being secure, being powerful, being free, being unable to return even in moment of weakness, even in doubt, even in loneliness, even in missing. Because silence is protection, is barrier, is wall between you and them, between freedom and captivity, between power and powerlessness, between self-respect and self-sacrifice, between new you and old you. And new you is protected by silence, is maintained by absence, is enforced by boundary, is permanent through silence being permanent, through absence being complete, through boundary being maintained. And maintained boundary through silence is you being safe, being protected from returning, from breaking, from sacrificing, from accommodating, from being powerless, from being old you, just safe, just protected, just powerful, just free, just new, just you choosing you protected by you maintained by silence, you enforced by boundary, you kept free through absence. You kept powerful through silence, you kept safe through distance that protects, silence that maintains, boundary that enforces, absence that keeps you free, keeps you powerful, keeps you safe, keeps you. And kept you is protected you, is powerful you, is silent you, is free you, is new you, is you who can't go back, who won't return, who stays protected through silence, who stays powerful through absence, who stays free through boundary, who stays you through maintained distance that's more powerful than they can believe, that's more protective than they can comprehend, that's more permanent than they can accept. But is powerful, is protective, is permanent, is yours, is you being protected by your silence, you being maintained by your absence, you being enforced by your boundary, you being kept free by your distance, you being you through silence, through absence, through boundary, through choice, through power, through maintained silence that's protecting you, that's keeping you, that's holding you, that's freeing you, that's being more powerful than they can believe. Your silence, protecting you, keeping you, holding you, freeing you, being powerful, being permanent, being complete, being yours, being you choosing you protecting you keeping you holding you freeing you being powerful through silence, you being protected through absence, you being maintained through boundary, you being you through choice, through silence, through power, through boundary, through absence, through maintained distance that's more powerful than they can believe, than they imagined, than they prepared for, Just powerful, just protective, just permanent. Just yours, just you. Powerful you, protected you, silent you, free you, you.